Okay, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you for your time to be part of my project.
My pleasure.
Yeah, can you tell me your full name?
Yeah, James Gifreda. I go by Jim.
James. How old are you?
56 years old.
50. What is your pronoun?
He.
He. What is your racial background?
Ethnically Caucasian, more detailed, mostly English,
Mhm.
Scottish, Canadian, Welsh, German, Italian.
Okay, very a lot.
Hmm.
Have a lot of background. So, how do you know IFI?
Mm.
How did you know IFI?
Well, I was a friendship partner
Mm.
perhaps 10 or 15 years ago. And
Mhm.
so I volunteered for IFI at that time. I met with some Indian students and we would go
Mhm.
do social things together,
Mhm.
typically.
So, for how long you've been volunteering for IFI?
Well, volunteering on and off throughout the last 10 or so years, but I've been working employed by IFI for about 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
So do you think that is IFI could be a bridge for your better life in the future, or it was happen like? What do you feel about
Yeah,
IFI about your career?
it's a good question. I actually view IFI as something as I also run a company.
Mm-hmm.
And so IFI is one of my jobs and my company is the other part of my job. Most of my money I earn through my company. And so
Mm-hmm.
IFI to me is something that I love doing. It's important to me, but I don't view it as a bridge to something else. I view it as something I probably would like to be involved with for the rest of my life.
Okay. Um, so, did you see if I offers you a promotion or career development? Like, yeah, even
Hmm.
you have another job.
It's a good question. I have not been specifically offered a promotion with IFI. However, IFI's Human Resources Department is quite flexible,
Mm-hmm.
and and they post positions publicly. If I was interested in another position, I know that there are several positions eventually that I could perhaps be interested in. So there are opportunities, but it's not. They wouldn't be opportunities for a career to be able to make more money or something like that. They would really be uh, changing responsibilities to something
Mm-hmm.
that is more geared around the kinds of things that I really want to do.
So, what is your responsibility at the organization
Hmm.
at this moment?
My responsibility, my title is the area leader of the Cincinnati location.
Mm-hmm.
We work mostly at the University of Cincinnati. Um, as area leader, I'm responsible for the administration of IFI. I'm
Mm-hmm.
responsible for the local human resources, recruiting. I'm
Mm-hmm.
responsible for the budget. I also do have involvement with international students.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a very wide range of responsibilities. If, because we're a nonprofit and we're not an organization that people come to in order to make a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
when we hire people, often they raise their own support.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's not attractive to many people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if there are roles that need to be filled, uh, and that I don't have them filled, it's my job to fill those roles. So I
Oh,
wear many hats.
okay. So, how do you like your job?
I love my job.
You love your
Yeah.
job. Okay. So what do you see the income or the what do you can contribute to IFI that IFI see from you?
Hmm. Well, I think that um, I have experience both in business administration. I was in healthcare for
Mm-hmm.
about 15 years. I was in
Mm-hmm.
management. So I have experience with, budgets and so forth and so on. But I also have a wide range of experiences in different types of organizations, like nonprofit or um, Christian organizations that I've
Mm-hmm.
worked, done volunteer work for.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that I think I bring is a wide range of experience in a
Mm-hmm.
time where I think IFI is transitioning from a group of relatively autonomous or independent organizations and different campuses
Mhm.
into an organization that has a stronger central infrastructure,
Mhm.
national staff, and so forth. And so I think my wide variety of experiences help to bridge that transition from a one way of doing things to a kind of a different way of doing things.
Okay. So, what do you think about the racial backgrounds of our staff, the percentage of
Hmm.
racial equality and equity in IFI?
Yeah. Well, so IFI's part of our mission and our vision is to work in partnership with spiritually alive students, internationals from all over the world. So that's our mission. That's now, as far as staff, we're a little bit limited because many international students are only here for, a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, maybe if they're getting a PhD.
Mhm.
Some of them may stay and work. And IFI at the national level, where uh, where where the highest, the largest number of IFI staff and volunteers are is in Columbus, Ohio, at the national office and so forth. And there's a lot of internationals that are staff or at least interns with IFI.
Mhm.
And there are some employees of IFI that are from different countries.
Mhm.
My boss is from Malaysia.
Mhm.
Uh, one of our volunteer coordinators from Kenya. Um, we have campus ministers from China, probably several from China.
Mhm.
And so there's a wide variety of perspectives and race, particularly ethnically. We're very diverse.
Yeah. How about the Cincinnati office?
Yeah, that's a great question. The Cincinnati office, when I came on board, has had all white
Mhm.
staff.
Mhm.
We now have, even though it's my desire and my vision to hire ethnically diverse people,
Mhm.
it hasn't happened yet. It takes time.
Yes.
One of the things that I want to be able to do, that's a unique population to work with. So if I'm going to hire international students, for instance, I need to have an infrastructure that can support them.
Mhm.
And so that is, it takes some time to develop that,
Mhm.
because if someone comes to work for IFI, I want it to be a good experience for them. Currently, I have a person that I would like to hire as an intern from
Asian background.
from what?
From from Asia background. Oh, from
Yes,
what background?
yeah,
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, Southeast Asia.
Southeast Asia
Yeah,
background.
and I also have there's another woman from East Africa that
Yeah.
I would seriously consider wanting to hire as a staff person, or even if it was only short term.
Yeah.
So I have a desire to do that. Whether that's possible or not,
Yeah.
there's a lot of factors involved.
Okay. So, do you think it will make any difference if more people of colors who been involved with IFI, like especially the
Yeah,
Cincinnati office?
yeah, that's a great question. Well, I would answer that two ways. One is I don't view color as the thing that distinguishes us.
Mhm.
I think that people are tribal people. We're as human beings, we're tribal people. We associate most closely with people that grow up culturally like us.
Mhm.
Whether it's oftentimes that does mean our color is the same, but I'm not a huge fan of using color as a dividing line because even within cultures there are many colors and so forth. So
Mhm.
I look at ethnicity, where you're from, and as you might know, and obviously in Indonesia, you could be from Indonesia, which is a large country of hundreds of islands,
Mhm.
but there may be different villages and different subcultures even within Indonesia.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as a pure Indonesian, right?
Yeah.
So that is true of all people. We have so many things that distinguish us, that color to me is not the primary distinction.
Mhm.
It's one small part. But to answer your question, I think having people of diverse backgrounds uh, is really critically important because even though I can understand some things that you understand, because we have, as human beings, we have many things in common, uh, but our experiences and our cultures distinguish us a lot. You have had a radically different upbringing, culture, religious background, etc., than I have. And even though we may agree on many things, there are many things that we would view differently. So to me, having people from different backgrounds is valuable in the organization.
Yeah. Good. So, do you have any suggestion? This will be the last question.
Okay.
So, do you have any suggestion for the IFI?
Suggestions for IFI.
For better
Well,
organization? Is this a good
yeah,
organization? Of course,
yeah,
we
yeah.
know that.
Well, I think IFI is going in a really good direction. And we're transitioning to an organization that has a really well thought out infrastructure, national infrastructure and support structure. And I believe that the CEO of IFI has a great desire to have IFI staff be much more diverse. And that's part of it's a long, you can't snap your fingers and make that happen. It has to be intentional. It has to be careful. You have to be cautious. You need to understand all of the, the implications and ramifications, and you need to just think about these things very carefully. You can't just wave a magic wand and make it happen. But because I know that is the direction that the CEO of IFI has given, then I think that we should continue in that direction, and we'll need to experiment, do some risky things here and there, and I think we'll benefit from it in the long run.
Yeah. Even like, it's the last question, but I still
Yeah,
really
go
want
ahead.
to ask a question.
Sure,
Like,
absolutely.
how about like Africans, Americans, or Asian Americans? Like, yeah, mostly it's internationals.
Yes.
Like,
So
people,
Americans.
yeah,
It's a great
for
question.
the Americans, but who
Yes.
are from the others ratio? What do you
Yeah,
think?
great question. So one of the things about IFI that's very unique as an organization is that we have of all the people that are affiliated or do work for IFI, most of them are volunteers. Most of them are volunteers. So for instance, in Cincinnati, one of my what I call a key volunteer, somebody who is she's African American, she's retired in human resources, she is like a consultant. She does projects for us and so forth. She's retired. She doesn't want another job. She's involved in many different things. If I could hire someone like that, I would love to hire someone like that. But she's a volunteer. This is true of many people in IFI, where there are volunteers that are from, trying to think of some other examples off the top of my head. There are lots of volunteers that have different ethnic backgrounds. Some of them are staff and some of them are not. In Cincinnati, I've had Middle Eastern volunteers. We have so many different types of volunteers that it's difficult to, I've had Filipino volunteers. I've had all kinds of people volunteer for all kinds of different things. I probably can't even count. I can't even recall all the different ethnicities that are involved in IFI. So, and I love that. That's to me, that's one of the most beautiful things about IFI. And it's something I think that is a value that I think, we're a Christian organization. I think God gives us that value, that we should learn to work, together in some kind of unity with people from other ethnic backgrounds.
Very interesting. Thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for involving my project. Okay, we close the recording. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.